All right, for starters, in order to master your relationship with money, it is our opinion. We're going to focus on, I think, four relationships. And first and foremost, our opinion as Catholics, your relationship with God matters. How you steward your money is important. Jerry, thoughts?
Yeah, well, for sure. I mean, if you don't have your house in order from that standpoint, none of this is going to make any sense. I mean, I wouldn't say jokingly, but we've made reference particularly in difficult times that, you can't take it with you. That's a joke, right? I mean, you can't. It's actually not a joke. But, I would say this, some of putting it in a positive light, some of the most enjoyable people to deal with are people who have a very good connection with their faith. I will never forget, and name will remain unnamed, but it's a good thing. Just longtime dear client of mine called me to tell me that she was going to be dying tomorrow. And I laugh only because how many times does somebody tell you that they're going to be dying tomorrow? This woman was so well put together from a spiritual and a psychological standpoint that she was all ready. It's like, Jared, I don't want you to worry. I'm fine. I'm going to go see my husband and whatever.
This wasn't like Red Fox and Sanford and Son saying, the end is coming and wailing around and rolling around on the couch.
This was a joyful thing.
Yes.
And it's probably one of the things in almost 40 years of doing this that has hit me the most was this call that came from a very dear client, just one of the most lovely people to ever deal with. So, there's the example of someone that really does have things together and was very successful, by the way. Her husband was hugely successful, great people, great family. In fact, we have, I think, working on the fourth generation, I think, actually now with this family, over 40 some, 30 some odd years, coming up on 40. They're an early client. But, and again, not to bring any specifics, but I have also experienced the opposite. And it's just, let's put it this way, from someone that's just in this situation is just a casual observer, if you will, or, we're not here to be anybody's, priest or rabbi. But you can't help in the world that we're in. We get so, close with people. Those kind of life events are important. And, that example compared to the opposite, I can tell you that example is the one that you want to have in your life. So for sure, that's a key component, that putting things in perspective, all those cliches, it's true. It does matter, and it makes it much easier to deal with it. I've actually also on an extended level, people that deal with the planning, I think, well, we talked about life insurance last time. So estate planning, it's kind of interesting. There are some people who don't have things as well put together in their life that talking about estate planning is like horrible for them. Oh my gosh, they're talking about death. It's interesting because the people that tend to be very good at handling that and just, face the reality that someday we're not going to be here, they end up living for a really long time. It seems like, it's like they're just in a much better place in their life, and they've dealt with those issues, and they know that the inevitable day is going to come. So they're going to plan so their family doesn't get stuck with a whole bunch of garbage. And then they go on to live these really long lives, happy lives. Not always, of course, but I mean, I've just observed. There's just some observations. In fact, I've thought many times about, there's a book to be written of the observations of a financial advisor, and the interactions that you have with people. There are some really interesting things that happen. And I would, that experience with that just fantastic woman, one of my favorite people, I almost tear up when I just even talk about her. It was something to, I'll remember forever, and I'll use as an example of a great way to live your life.
And how this looks on the ground, I think that this also should take, sorry, I was just stifling a distraction, but you should tithe. I agree, especially people of faith, they should make it a point to tithe. This is something where I personally have felt I've never truly wanted as I've tithed, been careful to give that first 10% to God. Now, that being said, that can easily turn into a twisted line of thinking where you think you're putting a down payment on some future success or something like that. I try to think of it as a way to just keep my priorities in order. And it seems like the other things generally fall on plan over the long haul. If I do that, I give him those first fruits. So the good thing about 10% is 10% for everyone is 10%. It's always 10%. Whether you're making a little, it's 10%. Whether you're making a lot, it's 10%. You can make the argument that the 10% for a poor person is a bigger deal than 10% for a rich person.